Alrighty guys, welcome back. I am so sad. My OBS just crashed halfway through that recording, so I have to start again. Welcome back guys to another commentary from a national champion. We've got Craig Jones versus Ruotolo from 2021, I believe. Before we begin, thank you so much for all of the support. I think we got up to like 640 subscribers, which is kind of unreal to me. Thank you for all the support. If you feel like joining the Discord, I've put a link down in the description below. If you join the general chat, you'll be able to interact with me, request matches, ask questions. That's how I got my last viewer submitted match. So like if you feel like just joining that particular community, you're welcome to. If not, don't worry about it at all. It'd just be nice to have you. Anyway, let's get into it again. So we got Ruotolo. It looks calm, confident, collected. We've got Craig Jones. He kind of looks like he wandered in off the street and doesn't exactly know what the fuck's going on. We'll get into the match. It's pretty standard wrestling. So I made comments before about how the difference in energy between an 18-year-old and a 29-year-old is not necessarily because of age, is because the 18-year-old hasn't lived with an injury for 10 years yet, or chronic injury for 4 years yet, and doesn't want another one. Do you know what I mean? So caution doesn't mean slowing down. Caution just means caution. And often, if you're experienced, you don't need to move as much as the young fella. So like just relaxing and kind of doing the bare minimum doesn't mean doing nothing, but like not overexerting in every single situation. We see with modern jiu-jitsu kind of wins the match because every little bit of energy helps and makes a difference, And so I was commenting that Craigy baby here is kind of a jolly green fucking giant versus Ty, who's a bit shorter. And so it's kind of like a yin-yang type of advantage when you're doing wrestling, where it's easier to get over the top of someone, but it's easier to get underneath someone. And so what Craigy wants to do is maintain distance with his feet while trying to do heavy tie clinches down, trying to like almost sprawl on top of Ty, and Ty doesn't want to allow these heavy tie clinches and wants to get close to the feet so he can tackle. And so it's an interesting battle to see these guys go for it. And so we see pretty nice hand fighting, foot sweep attempts, control over the head. Now, this was back in the day when Danaher Death Squad was still a thing. Craig was still training under John Danaher, and this is before really the rise of Gordon Ryan. He was doing very, very well, but I think this is only like 2 years into his run before he was kind of recognized as the GOAT of no-gi. And so we can see already the idea of controlling the inside space and controlling the head tilt with your head when you're wrestling. We see this idea that wasn't really standard. Usually it was forehead to forehead. And so, it's interesting to see the progenitor of the techniques that we talk about all the time. And it's quite fun to see that it was already being put in practice before it became like well known. So we see here as well that after all said and done, there's a couple of foot sweeps, there's some tie clinches, some breaks, some clashes, etc. Some ideas is probably not really worth going into how he moves his head. Do you know what I mean? To break the grip. We see this idea that Ty really loves that single leg entry. And I believe that he did really well at picking up the leg before. Maybe it's a bit after. I think it was a bit before, actually. That he always seems to go, like he's timing this really well, is that when you step forward with your right leg, he'll launch in and just latch on. And as soon as he latches on, he lifts, he like latches on with his hands, and then he lifts, shucks you forwards and tries to take you back, because getting on the back is the prevalent idea. And so we can see we can see that Craig tried his arm drag, his Russian tie, which he quite likes, and Ruotolo tried his single leg pickup. And he really wants to go for it, but Craig is being so heavy on the hand. So Ty needs to get rid of this, because if he were to try and shoot in now, Craig would sprawl his legs out and just smash his face into the ground with that tie clinch, which is Craig is using his advantage, his height advantage in this wrestling match so far. It's really good to see. And so we see this thing where Craig goes for a foot sweep because he loves his judo, misses it. Ty kind of tries to go for a tackle, so Craig gets a double overwrap underneath the armpits and just sprawls out trying to drag Ty down. But Ty now has to burn a lot of energy to like stand back up to keep wrestling, or he'll get dragged to bottom turtle and probably lose this match. You know, so he smashes out of it, but that was a fair bit of energy to use, you know. Very nice, and this is exactly what I was talking about. So we get to here. Now watch Craig's right leg. Watch. He steps forwards. Ty is like a little cyborg, isn't he? He's like eyeing up that leg, and he's doing the calculations like that. Zach Galifianakis, do you know what I mean? Where all the numbers are flying through his head. Craig steps forward and he just latches on as soon as he steps forward. So even something like stepping forward like this without your hands ready is a mistake if you're versing Ty. He picks up, he tries to go around the back. Craig blocks him with the knee really well. And now what Ty likes to do a lot is smash in for like a ankle, a knee tap, you know. But he misses it. Because he misses it, this is what allows Craig to put his foot back down. And then because he's got a whizzer and he's controlling the hand, it's very, very difficult for Ty now. And one of Craig's favourite throws is to step this hip in underneath and put his foot out to the other side, reaping the legs back through, so both legs will come back through as he pulls the hands down and underneath as well. Sotogari, maybe? I don't know. I never learnt the Japanese names. I just know it's sexy. And so Ty defends this beautifully, tries to pummel his hand back in, but now Craig has a Russian tie. And because of this, what he gets to do is an Uchimata off of it to try and take the back. And it's absolutely beautiful technique. Absolutely beautiful technique. Let's watch it again. Steps in, tries to go for the throw. Craig's trying to control this. Ty pulls out of it, allows the Russian tie, so Craig's winning this fight now. And then beautiful, beautiful technique. He does a Uchimata, throws Ty forwards. This hand shouldn't be hunting over the top. It should be hunting around the back, and I think he misses it. And so he just latches on. Ty starts lifting the elbow to shut Craig off the top. And then Craig is just scrambling around to the back now to try and get this wrap established. Once he does, though, Ty dives into like a donkey guard to try and latch on to the leg. I don't think I would ever try this. I tried like inversions as a phase once. Mom, it's just a phase. It's not just a phase, Mom. Where I kind of did something very similar, and the guy smashed into me and popped an intercostal. That's never quite been right. So for me personally, this is a no, sir. Thank you, sir. 3 bags full, sir. I'll never try that again. But Ty's going for this thing where he's latching onto the near side leg, and one foot goes in between Craig's legs, the other foot goes to the outside. Craig's is in between, and then he completes the forward roll, pulling Craig too far forwards. And then he's latched onto the leg for like a knee bar, leg entanglement, figure 4, saddle, whatever it's called, whatever you want to call it. And so Craig doesn't allow this. And he keeps hold with his hands the entire time instead of letting go, and kind of smashes his face into the ground and then grinds along the floor. And now that the roll is dead, the momentum of the roll is dead, he's able to let go, sit up, and then go into your S grip, your S mount sort of thing. And now all of a sudden, he's trying to turn and probably yeah, probably the best decision, because you can't really step over the top because you expose your back. You can't really draw this foot out without turning in. You can't stay where you are. And so what this allows, though, is allows Ty an underhook on the leg and an underhook on the arm. And now it's very, very difficult. But Craig does this really good job of staying heavy the whole time. He allows Ty to lift him, basically. And so he falls, he latches, and then they reset. And so they reset into the middle, where we're now into like a body lock position or butterfly guard position, you know. And you can see already, like, the progenitor of the idea of just being heavy and controlling with that pressure to the hips and then the inside space. And it's kind of a fucking nightmare rolling with someone as small as Ty. Like, I know he's not small per se, but like compared to 6'3", which is what I am, 5'10" is tiny, you know. Compared to 6 foot even, we see Craig like towering over the top of him, and I would tower over the top of Craig in the same fashion that Craig towers over the top of Ty. So you can imagine someone like me trying to find the inside space when Ty is so good being a ball like this. See how difficult it is for Craig alone. It's a nightmare trying to roll against someone this small comparative to you, especially when they're this good comparative to you as well. And they're so tensilely strong. Is smaller fellas are always so strong. And then they move really well, and then they back it up. Like, they back up their really good technique with their tensile strength, and just becomes an absolute nightmare to deal with. And so we see this thing where Craig is trying his best to control, but he's like pushing the feet in, and there's barely having any difference on the knee coming away from the body. And so what we get is sticky hooks, Damien, sticky hooks. Damien just shit himself. Everyone called Damien just shit themselves. But Damien, you know who I'm talking to. Sticky hooks. We get Ty lifting, and then he's hunting underneath for that single leg X. Now, Damien, as I said, this is the wrap that you want to be going for, because it allows you a lot more control. Don't take my word for it. Take Ty Ruotolo's word for it. And he's better than both of us. So we get into this position where Ty has this single leg X position. Craig is sitting down really nicely and heavily, and he's starting to defend quite nicely. He knows that if he gets pulled in the 50-50, he's got leg entanglements that he'll probably win. And Ty knows that, so he takes hold of the ankle. Now this gives Ty an amazing amount of control over that leg, but Craig manages to slip it out because Ty like lets go for a second of indecision. And then we reset back here. Oh, Damien, sticky hooks. Ty should be using his sticky hooks all the time as well. And so he's trying to lift him. Ty's trying to lift Craig, but Craig's doing this really good job of just riding the shit out of Ty's effort. Watch. Check this out. When Ty lifts him, Craig doesn't panic. See how he just gets lifted off the floor just a tiny bit, and that's really heavy when you're dead weighting down. And so like Craig would be a nightmare pressure wise as well. And we see this whatever it's called, headquarters position, where we were controlling the inside legs to push to the inside. I don't know what this idea here is with his back knee, probably because Craig at this moment in time would feel really off balance with the hook in to lift him. He wants a leg back so that he's kind of like a bit more spread out. It's a bit harder to lift him rather than keeping the knee in on the hip like what I would be inclined to do. But again, there's a reason why Craig Jones is better than me. It's because he makes decisions like this. And so like this knee back helps probably to defend sweeps by being able to sprawl out. But I'm not a fan of it because it allows this leg to free itself, and then you're going into an open guard again. To me, what we should be doing is standing up and still controlling these ankles until you can get to like a knee cut position or closer to the hips, so you can latch onto the hips more effectively, Right now, Craig can't latch onto the hips because Ty's really doing a good job being on his side. Look at how far on his side he is. And because he's using sticky hooks, he's like encouraging Craig up the body. Very, very difficult position to play. And so Craig, if he were to latch onto the hips, because his head would have to come low, he would just end up getting pinwheeled because Ty would pull his head down, his hips would get lifted, and he'd start getting swept, or at the very least pulled into a single leg X again. And so we see Craig go for the suggestion I made, and I fucking love it, boys, whenever I make a suggestion and the top level guys do it immediately. Promise I've not watched this match before. I watched about 4 minutes of it before my OBS crashed. And so he tries, and he starts sitting down heavy again, and did you see how he tried to rotate the hip in? Watch. He tried to rotate the hip in because he had the foot in the right position to rotate the hip in, because the knee was further in. If the knee was across the center line, this rotation of the hip in would collapse this leg down to the floor, exposing the hip to be grabbed, exposing the inside space for the head. But Ty reads the situation really, really well. Watch. Yeah, see how it's in the right position now? Ty goes, nah, and defends that whole idea just by flaring his knee a bit. And so he's still trying to lift Craig, and Craig is doing a really good job of using the weight difference to his advantage and the size difference to his advantage. He gets into this body lock passing, and Ty goes for a buggy choke. Okay. There's a lot to unpack in that clip there. Craig was trying to step over the top of that knee, because if he gets his knee over the top, he's halfway to mount, and it's very, very easy to start climbing the body. Ty defends it, so he just steps over the top of the other one. And then the beautiful hip switch and starting to take side control as Ty starts trying to scramble. It doesn't work, so Ty immediately tries to lock up a buggy choke. We know better than this nowadays. Like, it can work. I saw it work on one of my students in competition just recently, but that's because he kind of panicked and didn't know how to defend it, rather than it necessarily actually being a good choke, It can work. It can work. Don't get me wrong. It can work. And in this position, you may as well go for it, because you've already lost the side control. You've already lost any ability to scramble. Ty knows this, so he may as well go for this position that makes Craig stall and have to back out for more chances at escaping. However, if you go for this on purpose and you purposely allow people to pass your side control so you can attack a buggy choke, I'm sorry to say, but that's a terrible decision. Actually, I'm not sorry to say. That's a terrible decision, and you should feel bad about your jiu-jitsu. But I'm only joking. But it's not a good decision to go for this by allowing people to pass. It is, however, completely fine to go for it if they're already passed and you've already tried everything else, because it's a go for free. So Craig backs out, and you see how this allows... like a fucking spider monkey, man. He's like a little spider monkey. Ty gets lifted all the way off the floor. And then Craig has defended this quite nicely, but he has to be worried about leaving his arm in, because that ends up like a rubber guard armbar type thing as well if he's not careful. So Craig has to start pushing on the face. Craig just stands up with him. But this right arm of his is so exposed. And if Ty manages to get Craig's head up, he attacks that arm immediately, So Craig has to somehow avoid the choke, pull his head out without pulling his head out, Defend this everything coming in. Ty's so flexy and small that he can do this. Me, I'm in my own way because I'm 110 kgs, which is like 240 pound, and to do that natty, you need to be a little bit fat. It's just the way it goes. I can't get my knees into my chest this much anymore because my belly gets in the way. Ty doesn't have that problem because he's young and fit and actually good at jiu-jitsu. And so he's getting this foot all the way over the shoulder, and now there's actually quite a dangerous position for Craig, but this angling of his neck makes me cringe, And so Craig pushes his head down, is not really in danger at the moment. He just needs to play this softly and slow and start straining the grips, So he pushes Ty down, starts defending it, and then exactly what I said, you see how now there's space. Ty goes for it because there's nothing else to do, and in order for Craig to defend it, he needs to give space, which Ty will probably take advantage of by getting that knee in and then back to a guard. Beautifully done. And so that's like the most frustrating thing rolling against people this size, so they don't even need to fucking shrimp. They just put a knee in because they just find space. So actually holding them down is really, really hard. And like by not actually needing to shrimp, of course they need to shrimp, but not as much as say me. This is a bit dirty, but I understand it because not being able to breathe means that you have to pull your head back away from the hand because the hand will just follow you wherever you go. And so you have to pull your head back and allow even more space. But it's a little bit dirty in my mind. But again, if it works, it works. And so we see this really good job where I love playing a half guard with a butterfly hook. Half guard with butterfly hook is absolutely my jam and I love it. I should probably study a little bit more of what Ty does. And he goes into like a half guard butterfly hook K guard type thing where he gets hold of that bottom leg and starts like shrimping off of Craig, pushing the knee into the hip, which helps to flare and sit Craig down to the outside, which lifts Craig's weight up, which allows the exposure of the leg to pull it forwards. But Craig just steps out of it and defends it really, really nicely. I want to know how Craig defended that. Sorry guys, let me have another look. Yep. Nice. So Craig like pushed Ty's hand down and then hunted to the inside hip, flaring his elbow into his own knee, which is something we see Marangali doing a lot, and it's beautiful defense, really, really nice. And then he just pulls the leg out. Once again, going for a body lock. To control someone in no-gi, you really do need this wrap with like an S grip behind their bottom shoulder. My coach, his name is Neil Owen, and he trained under Henzo when John Danaher was actually a purple belt. Really, really, really good at jiu-jitsu, very knowledgeable. He maintains that it's next to impossible to hold people down with no-gi, and I think he's wrong. Sorry, Neil. Committing sacrilege. I think that my coach is wrong now. Because he hasn't explored this type of grip. We see Craig Jones, Gordon Ryan, Nicholas Marangali, all the top guys doing this, and they're winning against the other top guys who aren't able to scramble because of the efficacy of this. And I'm not saying that it'll work the first time, but I'm saying that it is the best thing to be doing, and you should just continue to try and do this S grip to make the other person tired, because the more that energy they have to burn than you, the easier it is to beat them. So we get into this position where Craigy Baby has got this grip and he's trying to hunt in for that inside space. Ty is straining to keep him away, and you can see how it's quite difficult, and this is what hunting for that inside space looks like. And Ty does this really good job of pushing Craig away, enough that Craig has to reset the position, and he does this twice, and then twice more. Even when he's trying to do serious jiu-jitsu, Craig Jones is so funny. Even when he's trying to do serious jiu-jitsu. So like, Ty is burning a lot of juice right now, but like, basically when you're 18 you are on steroids because your body's full of HGH and you're still growing, so your recovery is insane, you know. And so he gets away with like doing really intense motions, and Craig is just resetting the whole time, and then Ty tries to like just spring rabbit him away, and this is why I wouldn't want to verse him, because he does shit like that. It's really spazzy, and then he tries to like jump away. Craig doesn't give a fuck. He just literally dives and then body slams, and keeps Ty down, because trying to get him on the floor in the first place was an absolute nightmare. Keeping him on the floor, also a nightmare, and next to impossible against someone that doesn't want to be on the floor. And so Craig really wants to keep him down, and just dived on that to keep him down, you know. And so we get to this position where it's much the same as what we've been talking about before, and Ty's doing this really good job. You can see how he's kind of always moving. He's never settling, and because he's never settling, it makes it really hard for Craig to settle. I detest this covering the mouth. I feel like that's quite dirty. But again, everyone thought that footlocks were dirty back in the day, and everyone thinks wrist locks are dirty now. So it could just be another thing of like, it's just a done thing in a couple of years. However, I feel like there should be some limits of like covering your opponent's mouth. It feels very personal to me, you know, like the oil check. You know, we don't do that, even though it's a good technique. But maybe I'm just being a baby whiner. I don't know. Craig shuts it down immediately and starts doing it straight back, which, to be fair enough. If you're going to do it to me, I'll do it to you. But careful, that's how you end up in a relationship when you're talking about the oil check. And Damien, Ty's falling into that same trap as the black belt you fought. He's going for a straight ankle lock, and Craig doesn't give a fuck because Ty doesn't have the leverage. He's trying to like leverage down on the leg with the top of his leg and then pull up in like a counter lever fashion, when in reality it's not going to work. So you can see on Ty's face, look at him like wrenching, absolutely wrenching, and it's just not working. And Craig Jones, we saw in that video once, his foot touches the floor, and so trying to straight ankle lock Craig Jones is just a waste of time. And you can see how chilled out Craigy baby is. And so we you know, it's a difficult position to play because Craig doesn't want to get off balanced. Again, Ty tries to push him away, and he kind of just like belly flops. And Craig's doing a really good job of trying to get into that inside space. But again, I think it could be way better. And he's falling into the same trap of what like Nicky Rod were doing. Controlling the head in this position is annoying because it crunches Ty in and it kind of limits him, but it's very easy to defend. It does require a hand, so if Ty lets go, then, you know, yeah, sure, but he can also just use this hand coming in behind his head and then shucking it forwards and off the top, and it doesn't really accomplish much other than stalling the match down. And really, Craig Jones should be playing to control the hips. But again, it's such a difficult sort of question to consider with Ty, especially because he doesn't want to be playing guard. He wants to be playing wrestling and on top. And so you kind of have to, in a way, make the wrong decision in order to keep him down. Because if you tried to play guard like what Gordon does, where you just grab the feet, Ty would scramble away and then stand up. And then unless you want to belly flop on him, you'd just be wrestling again, you know. And it's very difficult to keep Ty down. Tai goes for that inversion. Craig Jones shuts it down. Keenan Cornelius taught us that inverting is not that good if you know how to defend it, which is just by sitting away from the other person or cross-facing them. So Keenan teaches us that it's not that good, and you can see how, like, Craig kind of barely did anything here. He sits away with his knee and then around the corner, and then he hides the space that Tai wants to go into. So now Tai's all the way away, and Tai's still hunting in. You can see how Craig just squats down and then, like, controls the hand, flares his knee a little bit further away, controls the hip, and then all of a sudden the inversion's dead, and he stands up and just keeps on moving away, and then Tai just ends up inverting on the spot. You know, and it's a difficult position. It looks like Tai wants to play guard now. Doesn't want to scramble up. Maybe been belly flopped on one too many times. Maybe just wants to start playing guard. Nope, does want to stand up. Okay, I was right. I should trust myself more. And you can see how Tai, like, used a lot of effort to shift him off the top, and he's in a big bench press, and then he, like, tries to move Craig away, and then he just tries to stand up. Craig tries to keep him down, and it doesn't work. The economy of motion's not worth it anymore, and Craig makes a decision not to belly flop because that could lead to injury. In before comments of, oh, he's getting old, you know. And so we get back into this wrestling position, and Tai's, this is where he's comfy, you know. And there's not really much to be saying about this, because Craig's got this underhook, and it's very, very strong, because he's, like, got a short elbow pulling Tai in, and so if Tai's not careful, he's trying to drop the shoulder down, and that looks uncomfy as all hell, and he's trying to drop that shoulder down as he walks away, but if he's not careful, he's going to get hip tossed, you know. Beautiful work, Mr. Tai Ruotolo. Absolutely world-starred Craig Jones today. It goes in. Oh, that looks like that hurt Craig Jones though. So it goes in for, like, an inside major reap, inside reap, and it looks like Craig hurt his other ankle, and so Tai, yeah, looks like that really hurt. It looks like Craig's foot got caught, and he just ended up falling with it. But Tai was pushing on the neck, which is kind of vicious, and, like, ends up, like, heel reaping back around the other side. And again, like, don't get me wrong, Tai, the Ruotolo brothers, are very, very good, but I just wouldn't want to verse them because they do stuff like this. It's, like, inherently hurty. You know, when you have rolls with people, and sometimes they can be as hard as you want, but you never get hurt. Then you have rolls that aren't as hard with people, and they just hurt. You just end up feeling like you just got battered. It feels like, to me, rolling with Tai, you just end up feeling battered because he has no manners about your body, and he'll just do shit like this, and then, you know, like, scramble and do a front flip on you and use you as the pillow, that sort of thing. And so he does this beautiful work getting Craig down, and you can see Craig's like, oh yeah, that happened. But they start them standing again because it's more exciting. However, there should be points scored against Craig there, you know. And again, this underhook, the same idea, as before. Craig is really good at getting that underhook, and then Tai is defending it beautifully by dropping down and pushing on his face. You know, it's really nice. And so we can see that Craig went for the same idea as he had before with that. He had a Russian tie, and he gets into it with a whizzer overwrap. And then he goes heavy on the body, and again he's setting up all sorts of things like the Ogoshi or Osotogari. I can't remember. Sorry, guys. My judo coach tried so hard to teach me the Japanese names, and I was just like, I'm here for the throws, like that. And I never bothered learning them. Sorry, but Craig Jones goes in for that Russian tie, same idea as the Uchimata, but already Tai Ruotolo is like the Borg. He just adapts, so it doesn't work. They're both tired. Tai's doing a better job of hiding it though. And so we get into this wrestling, and really nice work. Once again, do not like how heavy we just smashed into the ribs, because I can just feel that in my own rib cage. Love the technique. Hate how hard that looked on the body. And so I would say that Craig is better at wrestling at this juncture. Once again, Tai wants to go for that wrap, but Craig shuts it down with a whizzer really, really well. And then immediately goes in for a Uchimata, and then tries to like hop around the corner. Tai is so light and tensilely strong compared to his weight. He just puts a hand down and hops, which is really good work. And then it's very difficult. Straight away, with this Uchimata hook, you can see how Tai's leg is now in between Craig's. And it's exactly the same idea as what Tai tried before when he did a forward roll, except this time Craig is now more connected, and because he has hold of the leg, he'll be able to wrench Tai forwards, especially because he's pulling with his right hand still. We get into this saddle lock entry and a knee bar attempt, and Craig kind of cranked that a little bit, and then Tai defended it really, really nicely. So because Tai recognized what were going on early, you see how he started to turn. He dropped this hip to the outside, and he turned like into the inside, and now all of a sudden the knee is facing across Craig's body, not into it, and so the knee bar doesn't really work anymore. And so Craig tries it, because if the knee is facing across the hip, he can still leverage the heel back and get the knee bar, but because Tai has defended this nicely, sorry guys, there's a dude with a motorbike that lives near here that loves to crank it down my back street, and yeah, oh well. Tai draws that knee through, and this helps to continue the rotation of the knee to defend the knee bar. And then all of a sudden we get into like a 50-50 lock, and then it's no good. Now I'm going to level with you guys. I've never seen Craig Jones's leg entanglement series. I want to buy it and learn it. But I don't know it as well as I should. I'm just poor is all, and so I can't afford it. But I want to buy it from BJJ Fanatics and learn ins and outs of what he's doing here, so I can give you guys like play-by-plays. So I do apologize. I kind of have to try and figure it out as we go, which is good for me, because again, I started this video series as like my own learning, and I kind of thought, well, if I'm going to be sitting here talking to myself for 50 minutes like a dick, I may as well record it and put it on YouTube. And so Craig's got this like really nice triangle wrap. Obviously, it looks like he's hunting in underneath. Tai tries to defend, so Craig goes belly down to follow, and Tai would have to be careful now, because this knee is super in danger. It's straight, and to get the knee bar, you don't go straight up and down. You come sideways to get it. And so Tai's defending the heel exposure that Craig is hunting for on the inside, turning away. He's still very much in danger right now, Tai that is, because he can't turn too far away around the corner, because this knee then starts to rotate down and in, exposing it. You can't turn too much back into the other side, because the knee ends up rotating the other side, you expose the heel. It's a difficult position to play, and you can see how Craig is trying to expose that heel position, and that looks dangerous, like proper dangerous to stand up like that. Did you see the flex in Tai's knee? Watch, he just straight up stands up and flares his knee out. Look at that angle. And like, because the heel's caught, that's basically a heel hook that he just fights through to stand up tall. That's kind of disgusting. And I liked what I just saw there. That was cool. And so we're into this position where Craig rotates up and over the top of his shoulder, trying to get hold of this other leg. If he manages to get hold of this other leg, he can start attacking the saddle position really, really nicely. And it's a very difficult position to play. Tai defends it by just rotating with him. You know, it's like a little corkscrew motion, and this is how you generally start defending heel hooks. Generally, how you start defending everything, actually, is that someone's pulling on your neck for a choke. If you just go with it, they don't choke you as much. And so Craig is still hunting in for that far side leg, and Tai is again doing a really good job just sitting out and away from it. And it looks like a proper puzzle for Tai to be playing, you know. Again, I hate that rotation of his knee. It just, it looks like Snap City on his own just by being spazzy. Do you know what I mean? It just looks like he's going to break his own fucking knee. And so again, every time Craig tries to, like, he obviously wants to go in hunting for that other leg. And if he manages to catch it, he can start attacking it very, very nicely because of this triangle wrap. You could even let go, put this foot on the inside, go for your saddle position. But as soon as he gets hold of that triangle wrap, the other leg, it's very difficult for Tai. So Tai's doing this really good job just rotating with Craig every single time. It's hard to know how much experience Tai at this point in time has for these type of positions. Obviously quite a lot, because he just defended that really, really nicely. And so, again, I'm sorry guys, I don't know the exact idea of what Craig was going for, because I've not seen the end of that technique. You just can't know everything, really. But again, this is why I watch these matches as well, it's because it's my own learning. So sorry to let you all down with that. Craig decides finally, you know what, enough's enough, and he unlocks his own legs and starts trying to scramble up and on top. Tai gets hold of a leg of his own and starts trying to leverage into it, but Craig is so good at being heavy and forwards. Goes back into smothering, and Tai appreciates the banter of it, sort of thing. It looks like they're both having a blast. just realised what he's wearing. Craig Jones is a proper blast, isn't he? He's just funny, dude. He's a funny dude. So we get like this propped up single leg X, like near side X guard. Tai tries to. I don't know what that was. I don't know why he'd be trying to like push the leg up as he tries to sit up, maybe for a wrestle up. But from this position, it doesn't feel like that's going to happen because of how flexy Craig is in his hips. And Tai should be able to read that situation and not go for it from there. You should be looking to like lengthen Craig out and sweep a different way rather than trying to focus on the hip flexion, attacking the hip flexion. So like this foot, if it went out and the heel this is the knee pointing that way, then the foot goes in this way and his heel's here. Lifting this heel up doesn't do anything to attack this rotation, because Craig is so flexible in his hips that he can rotate all day long without his hip dropping down. And so sweeping like Tai just tried to is very, very difficult. And Craig is the same idea. He's still trying to go for that S grip, and he's using his size really, really well to his advantage. And you can see how Tai's going for like an overwrap, but again, the size advantage is huge. And so Craig manages to get down on the body, starts passing to side, tries immediately going to mount, doesn't work. So he steps over to side control again. Tries immediately to mount. It doesn't work because he wasn't controlling that knee enough with his elbow. He should be jamming the elbow in much more to help drop this knee down. And then he'd be able to hook much more effectively. But he doesn't. He makes this mistake and he's getting buggy choked again. And he's posturing up really tall, really nicely right now, which helps to prevent the lock coming in. And so now this is a much more secure side control because the chest is still connected, even though the buggy choke is open. Yeah. Some of his own medicine. So Craig can't unlock this without providing that space, so he just decides to go for that smother again. And then what he's saying basically to Ty is, okay, you can have this as long as you want, but you can't defend this. And so you're going to have to defend this by opening up, and he forces Ty to open up the buggy choke. Once again, Ty goes for it again. Craig smashes his elbow into the face and starts looking to flatten Ty out. Ty's going for the buggy choke once more, but again, it's not on. It's not tight at the moment. And so Craig is doing a really good job settling. He's in a half guard at the moment. He should be looking for that control of the head. But Ty did a really good job blocking it with good frames. And so now the battle becomes that Craig has finally got to the hips. It's going to become flattening Ty out. And flattening Ty out is a difficult task. It's a difficult task. But you can see how, because Craig is on the hips, it's an easier task for Craig than it is for Ty to defend. It's easier for Craig to do than it is for Ty to defend. So Ty once again goes for that buggy choke attempt. I don't think he should be. Like, he probably has a lot of success with it in training, but at this level, it's a technique that's easier to defend than it is to do. And so, like, at this level, you shouldn't really be going for it. You should be going for your standard defenses. Get back on your side. Get the hooks back in the way. Try and stand up if you really want to. You shouldn't be going for it because otherwise this happens, where now his face is being tilted off to the side, this elbow is exposed, this leg is useless, the inside leg is being controlled, he's starting to get flattened, and he's going to start losing this match. And so he's still trying to go for it, and it's a difficult ask because he's not getting the space over the top of Craig's body that he needs, And now even if he did go for it, Craig is going to have a Von Flue choke, and now it's who can choke each other first, Craig is trying to step to mount. Ty's doing a really good job of controlling this. And to me, Craig is making a mistake because he's so lengthened out that it's going to be hard to control the shoulders when Ty ends up pushing himself away. As we can see right now, Craig has to let go. And so to me, that was a pretty big mistake on Craig's part, trying to go for stepping over to mount rather than working to flatten Ty down, use his chest. Like, it's amazing to see, even something like 3 years ago, how kind of, for lack of a better word, bad Craig is in comparison to the guys at the top now and what they practice now. Because if this were today, Craig should, instead of going over the top of the guard, should just be focused on cutting straight through it and then using this outside foot to push the hip down. And then instead of having his head on the outside of the arm, put it on the inside and use your chest as the mechanism to tilt the chin and to squish. But instead, Craig keeps on dropping his hips down and keeps on trying to go over the top, but because Ty, as we mentioned, is so good at keeping his knee in, it's next to impossible. And so Craig ends up getting lengthened out and has to lose the whole position because he didn't go through the middle of the guard rather than going over the top. And that's a pretty big mistake because he could have had mount, and now he's getting his leg attacked again, And you can see how Ty was going for the reeb, ended up trying to attack the toes, and Craig's all about them leg locks, He's all about those leg locks. He loves them. Beautiful triangle attempt. Beautiful. So we get to this position. Craig sprawls out. It's hard to lift him. Tai controls the head and the underarm. And then as soon as Craig postures up, Tai can... He like brought his leg out the side and then over the top as he was controlling the wrist. Craig sees it coming, stands up, but it's a nice attempt, and he would catch a lot of people with that for sure, you know. Tai does a really nice inversion, attacking the near side leg. Craig is quite tired now. And he can't stop Tai from inverting this time, you know. Yep, good. Where is it? Sorry guys, I went back too far. So here, Tai manages to get this grip in. Now again, coming back to that tensile strength of the smaller guys, it's even if they're tired, they can generally still lift their own body weight. So it feels like they've got infinite gas tank, you know. Whereas it's harder to lift your own body weight when you're tired if you're someone my size. And so doing this motion 12 minutes into a pretty hefty match like this, very difficult. Craig can't stop it, and now all of a sudden he's getting attacked. And if he's not careful, because his knee is like his foot's tucked in, his hip is going to get sat down. And then if this knee tucks in anymore, there's a knee bar attempt there. And so Craig tries to defend it, and he's very flexy in his hips, and he tried to keep them flat, and he's defending it very nicely now, and he sits down, but then has to kind of spaz out of it a little bit, you know. Very technical escape. Right now, his heel is over here, his toes are over here, so his foot is like this, and then his hips are like this at the moment, right? He starts to rotate. Tai goes to follow belly down. Craig gets his knee free, which allows him to immediately sit back the other side, keeping his toes and his heel like this. Because of that, toes, heel, because of this rotation back the other way with his hip, it ends up pulling the whole thing out, and he defends it really, really nicely. It's a beautiful defense. And so Tai is once again attacking that leg. You can see how he's really going for it. What I would love to see Craig Jones doing here is just crossing his feet, put this one over the top of this one, and then this type of attack becomes really, really difficult. But again, you can see how they're so slippy now, and Craig's so flexy with his hips, knows what's going on. He just rotates his feet, and then he gets out of it. And now we're back into that hip ride position that's just difficult to deal with. It's a hard match for sure. And so, same ideas as we discuss very frequently, but done less technically proficiently. And this is a beautiful position because Tai gets this leg again, and Craig goes, okay, you can have it. If Tai was to continue over the top, Craig would perform like a leg drag and end up attacking the back because he's so flexy in the hip. That doesn't actually matter because you can see how far away Tai's hips are from the knee. So Tai would end up losing this position because Craig would just shuffle his knee around the outside, pull the leg down, chest would go on the top of the hip, then the hands would hunt over the top of the hip, in underneath, and then he'd end up taking the back. And so, nice triangle attempt, postures out of it. So Tai doesn't go for it, goes for a triangle. And now we're back into guard play. And I would suggest that Craig is still winning. Once again, goes for that footlock attempt. You should know that it's not working by now, so you shouldn't really bother with the energy. But thus is the foolishness of the young. And now Craig is going for a really nice bully pass. But again, Tai defends this really well now. I don't know your name, sorry, but Echo on my Discord was asking me, how do I defend a double under wrap? This is exactly how. You go knees wide, heels heavy. And then you try and walk your shoulders back one at a time. One at a time. And then this becomes very, very difficult to start passing. And so Craig gives up on it. Then we're into a close guard. 1.5 minutes left to go. Like, very scrambly match. A little bit disappointing to see kind of like the lack of development in the ideas behind riding the J line and inside space, because that's what's kind of making this whole match way harder for Craig than it needs to be. And we see how Cade has gone into that K guard again, and Craig is not allowing him to settle with his knee, because then he can start pushing away and pulling on that leg. And Craig is doing everything possible to be heavy and down. Kind of almost gets caught in a triangle again, poshes up really well. Now there's an opportunity for Cade to invert on that leg again, which he does. But again, same idea as what I was talking about before. See how Craig got in front of those knees and then turns into a body wrap, and then he can spin around the outside. But if Cade keeps on holding onto that leg, he ends up bringing his hips too close in between, making the access to the outside easier for Craig. So it's really good defense by Craig here. Still the same ideas. Craig is really good at rotating that knee and not allowing perfect setting of like knee bars and leg entanglements. It's really, really, really good at this. And it's very, very difficult now. And I would probably say that even with the submission attempts, Craig's winning because he's just defended them so well. And we're still into that like sprawling out, trying to do knee smashes, and you see how finally Ty is starting to get tired, and so Craig is closer than ever to smashing down on that top knee and controlling these hips for the win. But again, Ty is really good at latching onto that outside leg. Excuse me, sorry. He's really good at latching onto that outside leg. And this is kind of exactly what I was talking about. See how Ty's trying to attack that leg, and Craig is sprawling on the hips now because he's reaching. As soon as this leg goes, Craig will be sprawled out. The leg will pop around the corner, and then he'll be in a really dominant position. Unless he fucks it up, of course. And so we get to here, last 5 seconds, Ty goes for a guillotine, but we both know that they both know that he's not going to get it. So the match ends. Respectful of each other, they say thank you. If I had to guess, I would say that Craig is winning this match. You know, I don't remember this match, but I would say that Craig is winning. Yeah, very nice. So close run match. Kind of very technical, very scrambly. I would have loved to have seen Craig control those hips more. And if he had managed to control those hips more, I think that he would have passed a mount. That mount attempt was very close. I would have loved to see Ty maybe going for less leg entanglements and going for much more sweeps to get on top, because you're not going to out leg entangle Craig Jones. It's just not going to happen. At the very least, he's going to defend. At the very worst, you're going to get leg entangled. You know, he's one of the best on the planet at them, and so you're better off trying to get on top and use your knowledge of the leg entanglements to pass guard and avoid getting entangled yourself. You know, yeah. So anyway, guys, if you got this far in the video, I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you all the next time. Don't forget to join the Discord if you would like to interact or request matches. Cheers, guys. Bye.